Hello everyone and welcome back to my F1 22 My Team career mode, and that might be the first time I've gotten through this intro correctly. Anyway, moving into this round we are going down to Melbourne for round 3 of the championship, but first we have a Pirelli hot lap to do, and this was a drift one, and I am no good at drifting, so that was interesting, but somehow I managed to grind my way up to the points target. So yeah, I don't know how that works because, like I said, I'm the worst drifter in video gaming history. It's unbelievable how badly I can't drift. But anyway, let's just move on from that because that was not much fun. But we do get the money and acclaim for it, so I'm not too upset with that. Anyway, after the 3 practice sessions, we of course have some resource points to spend, so let's go and do that. We're going to go for chassis and tyre wear in this case, and more often than not the upgrades we do are quite limited in terms of we don't have a lot of options, so I think that was really the only one I could afford. We also have an updated livery for this one. Thought I would change the colours up and we'll go green and gold for the home race. I'm not sure if it'll stick for the rest of the season, but we will find out. I think it looks pretty cool though, so yeah, maybe those colours will stick around after all. We will find out in the next round if they stay. But anyway, that is enough of the intro. Let's get into qualifying, and Q1 goes pretty well actually, and we finish up just inside the top 10, so showing some decent pace despite being quite low on the R&D chart. Things are not looking too bad. Unfortunately Piastri not so lucky, and he's only on the back row, just ahead of Nicholas Latifi, so not a great run from him unfortunately, but I think he will do better in the race. Our car should have better pace. We are above Williams, and Albon managed to get into Q2, so obviously the R&D chart is just a guide. Albon really extracting the most out of the Williams there. But anyway, we continue into Q2 and push on through our flying lap in this session. And you can see we're chasing down Yuki Tsunoda. I like having a car to follow in qualifying. Not for any slipstreaming benefit, it's just a good yardstick, gives me a guide of my braking points and such. And you can see towards the end of the lap I did manage to close up a bit to Tsunoda. Not a great run through the last few corners, so losing some of that time again. But the fact is we did set a fairly decent lap relative to Tsunoda there. And as we continue on, bit of a moment on the exit of the first corner of the last sector, I think that is, and we have a bit of a after you moment with Tsunoda, and oh, Pierre Gasly straight into the back of us, and that is very unfortunate for the Frenchman, and also very unfortunate for us because that one earned us a 5-place grid penalty.
We've had to spend time repairing the damage to the car.
I was trying to let Tsunoda go past. That's the end of our session, by the way, with the damage. We're not going to go again. But yeah, that is seeing us down in 13th position. Yuki Tsunoda 1 spot ahead of us, so we did actually set very similar lap times. But yeah, that is the end of qualifying for us. Pierre Gasly further back as well. Obviously, I don't know, did he set a lap? No, he didn't. So yeah, that is that. But anyway, let's just move on into the race and try and make up for what will be a fairly lowly starting position.
It's race day here in Melbourne as we continue with what could shape up to be one of the best Australian Grand Prix ever. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. It's a combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners, making it a very tricky track when it comes to overtaking. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, And it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Sainz, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, and Valtteri Bottas, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, and Albon, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and the scientist, Stroll, Joe, Oscar Piastri, and Nicholas Latifi. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, that was unexpected. What happened to Anthony Davidson? It is honestly pretty cool though that they are mixing up the commentators and adding a little more variety to the race intros, even if it is just people, different people saying the same thing. Anyway, as for the strategy, we have two options, 3 sets of softs to mediums or 3 sets of softs to hards, and I'm messing around with alternatives and none of them are going to be as good. So it looks like 3 sets of softs to mediums will be the way to go for us. I even tried the Licorice All Sorts strategy of soft, medium, hard. That didn't work either. But anyway, moving on. Looking at what everyone else is doing though, it appears a few people are starting on hards. Most notably Sergio Perez right at the top, but also both Alpines. So they're putting all their eggs in that basket, as well as Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. So that is interesting. We'll have to see how those 4 progress throughout the race. They'll have no pace at the start on tyres that are 2 steps harder than everyone else off the grid. That does not sound like a fun time to me. So yeah, I'll be starting on the softs, thank you very much. But it'll be interesting to see how they go. Anyway, I think that is really all the pre-race stuff there is to cover, so let's just get into it. And once again, I've forgotten to switch the formation lap to immersive mode, but I will do it next time.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Hamilton will be looking to secure yet another championship this season, continuing his dominance of the V6 era. Sauber are running current specification Ferrari power units this year after opting to use the 2016.
Alrighty then, so here we go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's an okay start for us. Probably could have been a little bit better, but we can work with this as we head down towards the first corner. Very cautious though, and we're getting absolutely swamped. In fact, we're down into last position with Oscar Piastri sneaking through on the inside. We are down to the back and with no one behind us, and very slow along the second straight, down the inside of Piastri and almost into the back of the field ahead. And oh, now we've just spun on the exit of turn 3. Brilliant. This has been a horror start to this race, and not too different to our start in Bahrain where we had a spin there. A little bit less dramatic, seeing as we didn't spin in front of half the field this time. But nonetheless, that is not an ideal start to this race, and we have plenty of time to make up. And 11 laps till the pit window opens, so won't be much happening for us until then, I don't think. But anyway, this up the road is Yuki Tsunoda going for the move on Esteban Ocon through this reprofiled section of the circuit, and now he goes for the move down the inside into the fast chicane. Nice move there by Tsunoda, and that shows the pace deficit. Soft tyres versus the hards for Esteban Ocon. He is absolutely plummeting through the field and losing positions in non-traditional overtaking places, so that's very unfortunate for Ocon. And now he's got one of the Hasses right on his tail. That is Kevin Magnussen pushing him through. The final few corners basically is really close, so Ocon very much struggling in the opening phase of this one. Now Magnussen goes to the inside. Ocon tries to cover a little bit, but Magnussen is there. Down the inside goes the Dane. Ocon's going to try and hold it around the outside. He's gone off the road. Esteban Ocon beaches it, and he's going to just about make it back on. But Esteban Ocon has thrown away all of his track position, and now he's moved his way down into 21st position, and we are the only ones behind him. Meanwhile, this is what the start of the race looked like at the front of the field. Charles Leclerc was on pole position, but it took all of a few meters for Max Verstappen to take it all away from him, and Verstappen led the way into the first corner. And that is Lewis Hamilton going for the move around the outside of Carlos Sainz, moving himself up into third. I think he was fifth on the grid, so good start from Hamilton, gaining 2 spots there. One of those would have been on Sergio Perez, who started on the hard compound tyres. But we need to see a replay of how Hamilton got himself into that position. That was a brilliant start. Here's the onboard with Leclerc, and just really bogged down. And yeah, that was just an awful start for Leclerc. Verstappen just flew past him, so yeah, that's frustrating for Charles Leclerc. He needs to beat Verstappen soon. Verstappen's won the first 2 races of the season. Lewis Hamilton on board with him, and a brilliant start from Hamilton. Almost running into the back of Perez. That's how much better it was, but Perez never had a chance on those hard tyres. And banging wheels, Hamilton and Sainz. That seems familiar, but Hamilton gets through and up into 3rd position. This is the onboard with Valtteri Bottas, and here's another example of hard tyres not providing the traction that he would have wanted. And 4 wide in front with one of the AlphaTauris barging down the inside. That's a risky move there. I think that was Tsunoda getting through, but Bottas just getting shuffled back through every corner. This has not been a good start for Valtteri Bottas. Tries to get back up the inside into turn 3. That's Pierre Gasly he's fighting away with there. Gasly holds on though, and Bottas has to slot in behind, so he's lost a whole host of positions on the run towards the first or through the first sector. Here's the onboard with Tsunoda. Superb start from Tsunoda, and immediately gets alongside Bottas. Tries to go down the inside of Fernando Alonso, and there's a bit of contact, but somehow I think he got away with no damage there. Esteban Ocon doesn't quite leave him the space on the outside. Tsunoda was really desperately trying to get there. Now around the outside into turn 3, and again Tsunoda backs out of that one. Meanwhile, we have caught up to Esteban Ocon, and the hard tyres are not working out for him, and he is really struggling for pace. We're going to go for the move. He tries to defend. We'll go to the outside, and it's not even a competition. We go blazing straight past along the main straight, and that's the move done.
Nice move.
We're up into 21st position, and Ocon is down into last. Continuing on then, that is Valtteri Bottas pulling out a line, smoke pouring out of that engine, and Valtteri Bottas will surely
Okay, information on Bottas. Okay, they're out of this race.
be out of the race. There you go. So Valtteri Bottas now out. So that's 2 of the 4 hard tyre starters now with issues. Bottas out, Ocon in last position. So it's not gone well for those guys so far, as we catch up to Oscar Piastri, and we're going to go for the dive down the inside, and we'll grab Lance Stroll as well. Double overtake there into turn 1, and it was a little forceful against Lance Stroll, but we have to get these moves done and get ourselves further up the field. You can see Piastri has better pace than Stroll,
Some kind of mechanical problem.
and that's Alex Albon with a mechanical problem as well now. But yeah, you can see Piastri with better pace. He was on the back of Stroll, but not able to make an overtake.
Okay, we're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
And yeah, we just needed to make sure we got that done. We go for a dive up the inside. Latifi sending it over the curbs there, as Latifi was not going to see us coming as we were making that move from a long way back, but we got through, and Latifi will be demoted at one position. He's down to 18th, we're up into 17th. Still a long way away from the points for us, but it's a fairly decent first stint to recover from that spin. So hopefully we can continue in this manner. Nice timing on the turn into the pit stop there, and a very quick pit stop went right on the back of Zhou Guanyu. Speaking of which, they still haven't fixed his name. But anyway, we continue on and are now putting the pressure on the Chinese driver as we head through the first sector. Let's see what we can do. We're a little far back to go for a move into turn 3, I think, but we will certainly be putting the pressure on it throughout this lap as we are gaining in all the wrong places, it seems, and that's a common theme I've noticed quite often with me. But anyway, nice run here through the flat out right-hander, and we're right on him. Can we go for the move here? Late on the brakes, and we will just about squeeze through on the inside. Joe does a great job to leave us some room, and we are through. But what a move that was, just carrying the speed through there, running a little bit wide, using all the curb to make sure we get a good run. But that was a spontaneous move, and great respect from both of us, getting through there, no contact, and leaving each other plenty of space on both sides. And that was a very, very satisfying move. Joe does his absolute best to open up the corner as much as he can for us, because we weren't stopping. But anyway, we go down the inside of Esteban Ocon, and we will try and make the move here, and we do. So that is Esteban Ocon. We've overtaken him twice now with a pit stop for us, as George Russell, who was just ahead of Ocon. Russell must have some serious issues, because I mean, he's in a Mercedes, he should be up, fighting for the top 5. But George Russell down here with Esteban Ocon on the hard compound tyres. So George Russell's had an awful race so far. Anyway, we come into the pits for our second stop of the day. Not a lot to report on that stint. So in we come then, and I think there's something a little strange going on.
The crew there, mate. We're delighted with that.
Oops, that's
once now. One stop left.
That's not ideal. But anyway, I think there's something a little strange going on down at Haas. It seems I think they have both cars
Okay, we're sat in P12 now.
in the double stack position in the pit lane. So that's a bit of a weird one. And I believe Zhou Guanyu is actually stuck in his pit boxes. That's a lock up there, and we get past Lance Stroll. In the same corner we got past Joe, but Stroll with a lock up there, we were able to make the most of it. Now we're putting a lap on Piastri as we continue to blaze on through this race, just chopping through the highlights of it. But yeah, Piastri, we've gone from seeing him with pretty decent pace and looking to make that overtake on Stroll, but now he really seems to be struggling, so maybe he has an issue as well.
Keep it up.
But anyway, we're up into the top 10 as Tsunoda makes his final stop of the race, probably a few laps earlier than expected. But anyway, we continue to push on through the race, and eventually we make our final stop. Again, it's a nicely timed one.
Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Pit strategy complete.
And
see these tyres through to the end now.
We're out onto the medium tyres for the first time, and I have to say I did not enjoy these medium tyres. These, I just didn't have the same pace. I was matching Tsunoda, or more or less, when we were on the softs, maybe even marginally faster. But on the mediums, I just had absolutely no pace.
P12. Tsunoda's ahead of you. Okay, gap to the car ahead is 6.8 seconds.
And yeah, 6.8 seconds for Tsunoda, and that's Alonso out of the race. That's another hard tyre starter who will not make it to the end. He joins Bottas on the sidelines, and Ocon having those issues as well. So only Sergio Perez will give us a real indication of how good that strategy was. Anyway, as we continue on, we let Charles Leclerc go in the yellow flag zone. I was a bit unsure what to do there because we had yellow flags and blue flags at the same time. But anyway, we all got away with it, so it was all good.
Okay, gap to the car ahead is 10.3 seconds.
And yeah, that is the gap to Tsunoda. He's just been stretching away, so I think that battle might be over. Meanwhile, incidentally, here is an onboard with Zhou Guanyu still sitting in the pit lane, stuck behind the two Hasses who refuse to move. But back to the racing. This is the main battle that we should be watching out for the rest of this race. Ocon is in 8th position, but Pierre Gasly is in hot pursuit and he is much faster. But just behind them is Yuki Tsunoda, and the Japanese driver has been setting some mega lap times recently and has been trying to close that gap. So let's see what he can do throughout the rest of this one. And that's a slide and a spin and a 360 for Yuki Tsunoda, pushing just a touch too hard there. He kept it on the track though, so very good car control and incident avoidance there to not let that get out of hand. But that's cost him a bunch of time, and you can see in the background we are closing up now to Yuki Tsunoda. And I mentioned these medium tyres were not treating us too well, but now we are starting to get into the groove. And Tsunoda, what's that, 0, 1, 2, 3 seconds, maybe less between the two of us. So I think we have a chance of catching Tsunoda as we move on and count down the laps towards the end of the race. We have caught up to Yuki Tsunoda, but we don't have a lot of time. We need to make the move soon if we want it to stick. So let's see what we can do as we head now into turn 3. Yuki Tsunoda ahead of us. He locks up, goes wide, and we hop over the curbs to avoid contact. But Tsunoda's handed us the position there as we go a bit wide on the exit though. Tsunoda right on us, and we're wide again. Tsunoda back up the inside. Here comes Perez. He's the lap ahead, so he could interfere with our battle here as we go round the outside of Tsunoda, and Perez gets through as well. Tsunoda lifts, and that is the end of our battle, unfortunately. Sergio Perez interrupting us there. We move on then now to what will be the final lap for us, being a lap down. The race will go one short, and that is Carlos Sainz ahead of us, and he is giving us the DRS at the moment. Not that we are fast enough to go for a best lap, but anyway, that is Esteban Ocon out of the race now on the final lap, and that makes it a double DNF for the Alpine team, and only one hard tyre runner will actually make it to the end. But it's his teammate that we will focus on now though. Max Verstappen wins the Australian Grand Prix. Great drive from the Dutchman. He wins down under. We will inherit 9th position as we weave our way to the finish line, with Yuki Tsunoda grabbing 10th at the last minute.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And overall, that's a pretty successful weekend given how it started back at turn 3. That was, seems like a long time ago now.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today then, and they've taken a fantastic win. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, you know what they say, to finish first you have to finish. The fact was clear today, with a lot of retirements having a big effect on the outcome of the race. As a driver, you tend to keep reliability concerns at the back of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. But for teams, races like this can be very stressful.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So Max Verstappen makes it 3 from 3 down under. Charles Leclerc finishes up in 2nd position with Sergio Perez in 3rd.
Let's have a quick look at how the driver's standings have changed. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to the scientist. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One, so be sure to join us for the next one.
Alright, so after all the hard tyre talk that I was doing throughout the whole race, it turns out there that it didn't really have any effect on the overall results. Sergio Perez still finished in third where he started, and the other three that used the hard tyres didn't make the finish. So yeah, that's that. But anyway, a lot of cars with major issues in this race. Both Alpines DNF for them. Zhou Guan Yu getting stuck behind the two Hasses in the pit lane, and they were just as good as out of the race basically. Bottas out of the race, so that's three teams right there out. Alpine, Alfa Romeo and Haas. None of them making it to the end. So Ocon's still classified in 13th, which is interesting. But anyway, quick run through the top 10 though. We just saw the podium: Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez. Then it was Sainz in the other Ferrari, followed by Hamilton, who lost a bit of ground later in the race. Then it was the two McLarens of Norris and Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, myself and Yuki Tsunoda rounding out the top 10. So the unreliability for Alpine really costing them 2 cars in the points there. So that's a shame for them. But yeah, I don't know what happened with Piastri. We saw him overtake Lance Stroll at some point during that race, so he obviously dropped back and had some issue. Whenever that was, I don't know. I didn't see it in the replays. So yeah, don't know what happened to him there. Also worth noting, where is George Russell? He must have been at least 2 laps behind the leader, because we actually put him a lap down. I don't know if I actually put it in the final cut of the video, but yeah, we actually put George Russell a lap down in this race. That is insane. In the Drivers' Championship then, Verstappen leads the way, 25 points now, clear of Charles Leclerc in second, Sainz third, Perez fourth, Hamilton fifth, and we sit in 6th after that race. That is insane, on 14 points for us. In terms of the Constructors' Championship, this is actually a very interesting one, because we are 4th at the moment. Red Bull, of course, lead the way. Second position is Ferrari, followed by Mercedes. The gaps are 24 points and 71 points respectively, and then there's a big drop to us. We only have 14 points in total, but 3 other teams are on 14 points, including Haas, McLaren and AlphaTauri all have 14 points. Alpine have 8 points, as well as Alfa Romeo with 4. Aston Martin, Williams are yet to score. So that is how things stand after that race. So let's just move on. We got the Acclaim rolling in after that one, a level 6 team Acclaim now, and we do have a sponsor to have an objective to fill, which is nice, and that will get us some more money rolling in for our efforts in each round. I'm thinking I might stick with the new livery. It matches the thumbnail banner I created for this series a little better, and it's something a bit different. I don't really necessarily want to do the black and orange theme again, because I've already done that. So yeah, who knows, I change my mind every 3 seconds about liveries. But anyway, activity timeline now. We literally have time to do all of these. For R&D, we have the worst engine in the field at the moment, so we will purchase a spark plugs upgrade, a minor to our engine power. As we roll through the timeline, we complete the build time upgrade to the aero department.
It looks like you've had a meeting request from one of our departments. As the boss, departments will often reach out to you for advice on how to handle the various ongoings of your team. These events can range from everything from organizing charity events to dealing with driver matters. How you decide to handle these will have an impact on not only our resources, but how the press perceives us.
And we also have a department event, and no, I don't need tutorials, I know how these things work.
The department has asked us to deal with this.
So this one is for the personnel.
We have a couple of options here.
Mate.
Take your time. What you decide to do will have consequences.
Stop talking. Alright, you done now? Good. Alright, so it's this one that we've seen many times before. Piastri's been hitting his stride with Simulator. We can tell him to focus on pace or awareness.
Thanks
we
for
are going
stepping
to,
in and helping
of course,
handle that.
focus on pace, because it is very much more important, I think. We need all the pace we can get to make up for the lack of pace in the car. Anyway, we continue through the timeline then.
Sooner or later, you'll probably be asked by the media.
Oh my god, I do not care, mate. Okay, so continuing through the timeline again, we get our energy store cells upgrade. I believe that was weight redistribution, judging by the icon. But anyway, we also get a roll dampers upgrade for, I believe tyre wear, but our streamlined suspension arms upgrade failed, so we will not have that, and we don't have the resource points to fix it right now. So yeah, that's unfortunate. We won't have that going onto the car. Continuing through the timeline even more, we get another upgrade, this one to the spark plugs. I believe that was the one we purchased at the start of the... You just said all this, mate. Seriously, can you just stop talking? Please, stop. Thank you. But once again, we can afford an upgrade to the rear downforce, but we've already got one more rear than front. We haven't upgraded the front downforce yet, so I don't want to do that, even though we can technically afford it. So yeah, that one's just going to have to wait, and we'll just have to sit on these resource points for a bit until we have enough to fix that streamlining suspension arms upgrade, as well as the front downforce upgrade, and then we can get that rear downforce upgrade. So yeah, that one's quite far down on the priority list, as well as, of course, other departments. But anyway, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful. But other than that, I will see you next time. Goodbye.